Hi, everybody. Um, so stupid. There was nothing wrong with my PC because I have the browser of the stream running in the background. It was doubling up on the sound, and then I confused it for there being something wrong with my headphones. So then there's that. Today is going to be something just a little bit different. Um, we have Fluffy Poop here, but she's out right now with her honeys, so we're not going to be seeing her, at least not yet. Um, I wanted to uh, bring some attention to Martin Luther King Jr. You know, we celebrate his birthday. Some companies honor it, some companies don't. But um, I was talking to a family member, and they didn't even know that he was a Baptist pastor. So one of those characters where we all characters figures where we all know the name but we don't really know what they did, and that made me kind of sad. So I do have a book uh, of his that is opened by Coretta Scott King, his wife, and I wanted to make some time for that and maybe come back to it on Sunday. So it'll be mostly reading, um, and perhaps some tarot, but I want to focus more on the books today and see how we do with that. So, no pressure to anyone who has things to do. You just sit back and relax. I'm going to hop over to this screen so you can actually see my book. I got my wine here. And I have different buttons now. Okay, so different buttons so we can see what it is that I'm reading. We can start off with chapter 1. But I do kind of want to see real quick about the opening. Yeah, actually, let's start from the very beginning, the foreword by Coretta Scott King. Oh, bear with me. This is the first time ever that I'm reading this book. I had it before, but I had given it away for Christmas, and so now this is back in my library. And then just give me 1 second while I make sure that this is working too. Hi, Sarah, my love. How you? Gonna read some Strength to Love today. I'm gonna try this new thing called reading streams, and I hope that you're well. How are you? Happiest New Year. Did you enjoy yourself? So, if there is one book Martin Luther King Jr. has written that people consistently tell me has changed their lives, it is Strength to Love. I believe it is because this book best explains the central element of Martin Luther King Jr.'s philosophy of nonviolence, his belief in a divine, loving presence that binds all life. This belief was the force behind all of my husband's quest to eliminate social evil, and what he referred to when he preached of the interrelated structure of reality in his sermon, The Man Who Was a Fool. All men are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be, and you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. Martin Luther King Jr.'s theological belief in the interdependence of all life inevitably led to methods for social change that dignified the humanity of the social change advocate as well as his adversary. Christ gave us the goals, he would often say, and Mahatma Gandhi provided the tactics. It was in his first post as minister of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, that Martin Luther King Jr. first actively combined theology with social change. When the now legendary 381-day nonviolent bus boycott began in 1955, Martin was chosen head of the organization's network and the Montgomery Improvement Association. Even then, Martin's vision transcended time and place. He articulated for us not only the boycott's intermediate goal, the desegregation of city buses, but more importantly, showed us its ultimate goal of healing and regenerating an entire population. The basic conflict is not really over the buses. Yet we believe that if the method we use in dealing with equality in the buses can eliminate injustice within itself, we shall at the same time be attacking the basis of injustice, man's hostility to man. This can only be done when we challenge the white community to re-examine its assumptions as we are now prepared to re-examine ours. Non-cooperation and non-violent resistance were means of stirring and awakening moral truths in one's opponents, of evoking the humanity that Martin believed existed in each of us. The means, therefore, had to be consistent with the ends, and the end as Martin conceived it was greater than any part, greater than any single issue. The end is redemption and reconciliation, he believed. The aftermath of nonviolence is the creation of the beloved community, while the aftermath of violence is tragic bitterness. Even the most intractable evils of our world, the triple evils of poverty, racism, and war that Martin so eloquently challenged in his Nobel lecture, can only be eliminated by nonviolent means. And the wellspring for the eradication of even these most economically, politically, and socially entrenched evils is the moral imperative of love. In his 1967 address to the anti-war group clergy and laity concerned, he said, "When I speak of love, I am not speaking of some sentimental weak response. I am speaking of that force which all of the great religions have seen the supreme unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door which leads to ultimate reality." This Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist belief about ultimate reality is beautifully summed up in the Epistle of St. John. "Let us love one another, for love is God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God." If love is the eternal religious principle Martin Luther King Jr. believed, then nonviolence is its external worldly counterpart. He wrote, "At the center of nonviolence stands the principle of love. The nonviolent register would contend that in the struggle for human dignity, the oppressed people of the world must not succumb to the temptation of becoming bitter or indulging in hate campaigns. To retaliate in kind would do nothing but intensify the existence of hate in the universe. Along the way of life, someone must have sense enough morality, enough to cut off the chain of hate. This can only be done by projecting the ethic of love to the center of our lives." Just as Martin Luther King Jr. sought the integration of the eternal and temporal, he sought the integration of the spiritual and the intellectual. In the sermon Love in Action, he preached, "One day we will learn that the heart can never be totally right if the head is totally wrong. Only through the bringing together of the head and heart, intelligence and goodness, shall man rise to a fulfillment of his true nature." To rise to this fulfillment, Martin believed, took not only the integration of the eternal and the temporal, or the spirit and the intellectual, but most deeply the integration of the visionary and the practical. If Martin Luther King Jr. was an apostle of love, he was no less an apostle of action. The fierce urgency of now stood in his cardinal impetus for social change. His friends and co-workers in the civil rights movement still joke about Martin's seeming impatience at their extended all-night discussions that could bog down action itself. Then, Martin would tease about the paralysis of analysis. At heart, though, Martin was deadly serious. In the Trumpet of Conscience, he wrote, "In a world facing the revolt of ragged and hungry masses of God's children, in a world torn between the tensions of East and West, white and colored, individualists and collectivists, in a world whose cultural and spiritual power lags so far behind her technological capabilities that we live each day on the verge of nuclear co-annihilation. In this world, nonviolence is no longer an option for intellectual analysis. It is an imperative for action." Thank you, Ronan. I hope you're having a great evening. I appreciate you. And so we come full circle. The struggle to eliminate the world's evils. Evils so flagrant and self-evident that they glare at us from every ghetto street and rural hovel, can only occur through profound internal struggle, by reaching into and beyond ourselves, and tapping the transcendent moral ethic of love. We shall overcome these evils. Love, truth, and the courage to do what is right should be our own guideposts on this lifelong journey. Martin Luther King Jr. showed us the way. He showed us the dream, that we responded with full hearts. Martin was an optimist. I am too. I do believe that one day our strength to love shall bring the dream to fruition and the beloved community to earth. So that was the foreword by his wife. we have the preface, and then let me see exactly how long. This is a very short book, similar to the setup of Gandhi's A Way to God. We'll do a few truths from each. Dr. King was actually the president of the Gandhi Society of, I forget exactly what the name of it was, but he learned very much. He was one of the mentorees of Mahatma Gandhi. So now on to the preface. In these turbulent days of uncertainty, the evils of war and of economic and racial injustice threaten the very survival of the human race. Indeed, we live in a day of grave crisis. The sermons in this volume have a present crisis as their background, and they have been selected for this volume because, in one way or another, they deal with the personal and collective problems that the crisis presents. In these sermons, I have sought to bring the Christian message to bear on the social evils that cloud our day and the personal witness and discipline required. All of these sermons were originally written for my former parishioners in the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church of Montgomery, Alabama, and my present parishioners in the Ebenezer Baptist Church of Atlanta, Georgia. Many of the sermons were later preached to congregations throughout the nation. All of these sermons were preached during or after the bus protests in Montgomery, Alabama, and I have drawn a number of illustrations from that particular movement, some of which were included in my book, Stride Towards Freedom. 3 of the sermons, Love in Action, Love Your Enemies, and Shattered Dreams, were written while I was in Georgia jails. Pilgrimage to Nonviolence is a revision and updating of material that previously appeared in the Christian Century, and Stride Toward Freedom. Although it's not a sermon, it has been included at the end of the volume at the specific urging of the publisher. I have been rather reluctant to have a volume of sermons printed. My misgivings have grown out of the fact that a sermon is not an essay to be read, but a discourse to be heard. It should be a convincing appeal to a listening congregation. Therefore, a sermon is directed towards the listening ear rather than the reading eye. While I have tried to rewrite these sermons for the eye, I am convinced that this venture could never be entirely successful. So even as the volume goes to press, I have not altogether overcome my misgivings. But in deference to my former congregation, my present congregation, my close associates in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and my many friends across the nation who have asked for copies of individual sermons, I offer these discourses in the hope that a message may come to life for readers of this printed words. I am happy to express my deep gratitude to many helpers. I am indebted to my close friends and executive assistant Wyatt T. Walker, a fine preacher in his own right, for reading the entire manuscript and offering valuable suggestions. I am also indebted to my teacher and friend, Samuel W. Williams, for helpful and stimulating suggestions, Charles Wallace, who gave valuable editorial assistance on the final manuscript. My thanks also goes to my efficient secretary, Miss Dora E. McDonald, who constantly offered encouraging words and transferred my handwritten pages to typewritten copy. Most of all, I must thank my devoted wife, Coretta, who has read the manuscript and given invaluable suggestions and inspiration. Her love and patience enabled her to be understanding in the face of my increased absence from her and our children while completing this volume. So, we're on to chapter 1. That was the preface. It's thanking many and explaining to us that when it comes to sermons, it's not something that should be read but heard. So, while I am not able to speak the way that he was able to, of course, I hope you do not mind. There are certain words that I will replace that I don't feel comfortable saying. And we continue. So chapter 1. A tough mind and a tender heart. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Matthew chapter 10 verse 16. A French philosopher said, no man is strong unless he bears within his character antithesis strongly marked. The strong man holds in a living blend strongly marked opposites. Not ordinarily do men achieve this balance of opposites. The idealists are not usually realistic, and the realists are not usually idealistic. The militant are not generally known to be passive, nor the passive to be militant. Seldom are the humble self-assertive, or the self-assertive humble. But life at its best is a creative synthesis of opposites in fruitful harmony. The philosopher Hegel said that truth is found neither in the thesis nor the antithesis, but in an emergent synthesis that reconciles the two. Jesus recognized the need for blending opposites. He knew that his disciples would face a difficult and hostile world, where they would confront, the recalcitrance, I've never seen this word before, confront the recalcitrance of political officials, that the intransigence, horrible, of the protectors of the old order. Terrible. Transigence. Yeah, I've never seen that word before either. He knew they would meet cold and arrogant men whose hearts had been hardened by the long winter of traditionalism. He said to them, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves." And he gave them a formula for action. "But ye, therefore, wise as serpents and harmless as doves." It's pretty difficult to imagine a single person having simultaneously the characteristics of the serpent and the dove. But this is what Jesus expects. We must combine the toughness of the serpent and the softness of the dove, a tough mind and a tender heart. Let us consider first the need for a tough mind, characterized by incisive thinking, realistic appraisal, and decisive judgment. The tough mind is sharp and penetrating, breaking through the crusts of legends and myths and sifting the true from the false. The tough-minded individual is astute and discerning. He has a strong, austere quality that makes for firmness of purpose and solidness of commitment. Who doubts that this toughness of mind is one of man's greatest needs? Rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think. This prevalent tendency towards soft-mindedness is found in man's unbelievable gullibility. Take our attitude towards advertisement. We are so easily led to purchase a product because a television or radio advertisement pronounces it better than any other. Advertisers have long since learned that most people are soft-minded, and they capitalize on this susceptibility with skillful and effective slogans. This undue gullibility is also seen in the tendency of many readers to accept the printed word of the press as final truth. Few people realize that even our authentic channels of information, the press, the platform, and in many instances the pulpit, do not give us objective and unbiased truth. Few people have the toughness of mind to judge critically and to discern the true from the false, the fact from the fiction. Our minds are constantly being invaded by legions of half-truths, prejudices, and false facts. One of the great needs of mankind is to be lifted above the morass of false propaganda. Soft-minded individuals are prone to embrace all kinds of superstitions. Their minds are constantly invaded by irrational fears, which range from fear of Friday the 13th to fear of a black cat crossing one's path. As the elevator made its upward climb to one of the large hotels of New York City, I noticed for the first time there was no 13th floor. Floor 14 followed floor 12. On inquiring from the elevator operator the reason for this omission, he said the practice is followed by most large hotels because of the fear of numerous people to stay on the 13th floor. Then he added, the real foolishness of the fear is to be found at the fact that the 14th floor is actually the 13th. Such fears leave the soft mind haggard by day and haunted by night. The soft-minded man fears change. He feels security in the status quo. He has an almost morbid fear of the new. For him, the greatest pain is the pain of a new idea. An elderly segregationist in the South is reported to have said, I have come to see now that desegregation is inevitable, but I pray God that it will not take place until after I die. The soft-minded person always wants to freeze the moment and hold life in the gripping yoke of sameness. Soft-mindedness often invades religion. This is why religious has sometimes rejected new truth with a dogmatic passion. Through edicts and bulls, inquisitions and excommunications, the church has attempted to prorogue truth and place an impenetrable stone wall in the path of the truth seeker. The historical, philosophical criticism of the Bible is considered by the soft-minded as blasphemous, and reason is often looked upon as the exercise of a corrupt faculty. Soft-minded persons have revised the Beatitudes to read, Blessed are the pure in ignorance, for they shall see God. This has also led to a widespread belief that there is a conflict between science and religion, but this is not true. There may be a conflict between soft-minded religionists and tough-minded scientists, but not between science and religion. Their respective worlds are different, and their methods are dissimilar. Science investigates, religion interprets. Science gives man knowledge that is power, religion gives man wisdom that is control. Science deals mainly with facts, religion deals mainly with values. The two are not rivals, they are complementary. Science keeps religion from sinking into the valley of crippling irrationalism and paralyzing obscurantism. Religion prevents science from falling into a marsh of obsolete materialism and moral nihilism. We do not need to look far to detect the dangers of soft-mindedness. Dictators, capitalizing on soft-mindedness, have led men to acts of barbarity and terror that are unthinkable in civilized society. Adolf Hitler realized that soft-mindedness was so prevalent among his followers that he said, "I use emotion for the many and reserve reason for the few." In Mein Kampf, he asserted, by means of shrewd lies, unremittingly repeated, it is possible to make people believe that heaven is hell and hell heaven. The greater the lie, the more readily it will be believed. Soft-mindedness is one of the basic causes of race prejudice. The tough-minded person always examines the facts before reaching conclusions. In short, he post-judges. The tender-minded person reaches a conclusion before he has examined first the facts. In short, he prejudges and is prejudiced. Hello, Tyler. It's nice to see you, my love. Race prejudice is based on groundless fears, suspicions, and misunderstandings. There are those who are sufficiently soft-minded to believe in the superiority of the white race and the inferiority of the black race, in spite of the tough-minded research of anthropologists who reveal the falsity of such a notion. There are soft-minded persons who argue that racial segregation should be perpetuated because black people lag behind in academic, health, and moral standards. They are not tough-minded enough to realize that lagging standards are the result of segregation and discrimination. They do not recognize that it is rationally unsound and sociologically untenable to use the traffic effects of segregation as an argument for its continuation. Too many politicians in the South recognize this disease of soft-mindedness that engulfs their constituency. With insidious zeal, they make inflammatory statements and disseminate distortions and half-truths that arouse abnormal fears and morbid antipathies within the mind of uneducated and underprivileged whites, leaving them so confused that they are led to act meanness and violence that no normal person commits. There is little hope for us until we become tough-minded enough to break loose from the shackles of prejudice, half-truths, and downright ignorance. The shape of the world today does not permit us the luxury of soft-mindedness. A nation or a civilization that continues to produce soft-minded men purchases its own spiritual death on an installment plan. So, a little sum up of what he's describing here. Dr. King is saying that most people are soft-minded, and that's for folks who really do enjoy the now, but also hope that the way things are, especially when routine is found, stay this way. And I have noticed the same things when it comes to anything that goes on, especially when we have political tension, that you have folks on the far left and on the far right, and they're going head to head, they're very loud, but the majority of us stay at the center. We don't want to be part of any of these conflicts. We're really just trying to get through each day, and we even tend to push the news out of our daily lives to where we become totally disengaged with what's happening with current events. So he's not necessarily calling this out in a way that folks should feel bad, but to recognize what it is that perpetuates the constant evils in this world that doesn't change. And that's one of them, being soft-minded, being someone who doesn't stand on one side or the other, who chooses to simply step away entirely from conflict, just so that things can stay comfortable in their own, what I call, political silo. So chapter 2. But we must not stop with the cultivation of a tough mind. The gospel also demands a tender heart. Tough-mindedness without tender-heartedness is cold and detached. leaving one's life in a perpetual winter, devoid of the warmth of spring and the gentle heat of summer. So now he goes on to say that you can be shrewd, you can discern what it is that you see, but without a heart in the matter, you're no better than a machine, analytical. And I can totally attest to this. Someone can declare, oh, this is an injustice, but without seeing the people at the heart of whatever it is that's happening, it won't reach anybody, whatever the message may be. What is more tragic than to see a person who has risen to the disciplined heights of tough-mindedness, but has at the same time sunk to the passionless depths of hard-heartedness? The hard-hearted person never truly loves. He engages in a crass utilitarianism that values other people mainly according to their usefulness to him. I understand that. He never experiences the beauty of friendship because he is too cold to feel affection for another, and is too self-centered to share another joy and sorrow. He is an isolated island. No outpouring of love links him with the mainland of humanity. The hard-hearted person lacks the capacity for genuine compassion. He is unmoved by the pains and afflictions of his brothers. He passes unfortunate men every day, but he never really sees them. He gives dollars to a worthwhile charity, but he gives not of his spirit. The hard-hearted individual never sees people as people, but rather mere objects or as impersonal cogs that an ever-turning wheel. In the vast wheel of industry, he sees men as hands. In the massive wheel of big city life, he sees men as digits in a multitude. In the deadly wheel of army life, he sees men as numbers in a regiment. He depersonalizes life. Jesus frequently illustrated the characteristics of the hard-hearted. The rich fool was condemned not because he was not tough-minded, but rather because he was not tender-hearted. Life for him was a mirror in which he saw only himself, and not a window through which he saw other selves. Dives went to hell, not because he was healthy or wealthy, but because he was not tender-hearted enough to see Lazarus, and because he made no attempt to bridge the gulf between himself and his brother. Jesus reminds us that the good life combines the toughness of the serpent and the tenderness of the dove. To have serpent-like qualities devoid of dove-like qualities is to be passionless, mean, and selfish. To have dove-like without serpent-like qualities is to be sentimental, anemic, and aimless. We must combine strongly marked antithesis. We as Black people must bring together tough-mindedness and tender-heartedness if we are to move creativity towards the goal of freedom and justice. Soft-minded individuals among us feel that the only way to deal with oppression is by adjusting to it. They acquiesce and resign themselves to segregation. They prefer to remain oppressed. When Moses led the children of Israel from slavery of Egypt to the freedom of the Promised Land, he discovered that slaves do not always welcome their deliverers. They would rather bear those ills they have, as Shakespeare pointed out, than flee to others that they know not of. They prefer the flesh spots of Egypt to the ordeals of emancipation, but this is not the way out. Soft-minded acquiesce is cowardly. My friends, we cannot win the respect of the white people of the South or elsewhere if we are willing to trade the future of our children for our personal safety and comfort. Moreover, we must learn that passively to accept an unjust system is to cooperate with that system, and thereby to become a participant in its evil. There are hard-hearted and bitter individuals among us who would combat the opponent with physical violence and corroding hatred. Violence brings only temporary victories. Violence, by creating more social problems than it solves, never brings permanent peace. I am convinced that if we succumb to the temptation to use violence in our struggle for freedom, unborn generations will be the recipients of a long and desolate night of bitterness. And our chief legacy to them will be a never-ending reign of chaos. A voice echoing through the corridors of time, say to every intemperate Peter, "Put up thy sword." History is cluttered with the wreckage of nations that fail to follow Christ's command. So he calls now on learning to have a tender heart, but also that when we participate in social structures that oppress, we condone whatever system this is, and I totally understand what he means by this. He had written before, and I had noticed this as we were all starting to grow weary of the 2016 elections, that it's the folks that remain on the center that really are the heart of why things take so long to change. But at the same time, it's so hard to tell somebody, especially when it comes to the hierarchy of needs, to care about something more than themselves. And it really does take diving into our spiritual selves to be able to see outside of our own silos. I know that it's a difficult thing to explain sometimes to folks that it's not only about you, but when we force ourselves out of this, and the Spirit can definitely help in this way, we're able to see each other as truly our brothers and sisters, having the same experience, having a shared consciousness. But if we don't, then we just sort of go about our days, continuing to become frustrated with one another, living in envy. Malice is what Paul said as well. And we find ourselves going day to day, just trying to hold back the things that we want to say, not necessarily doing what is fulfilling, kind of just riding out our time. And I hope that with the coming of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, that we can think more on this. He dedicated his life, and he found his soul's purpose, and it really changed the way that even young people today view how to make social change. But I'll stop here on chapter 3. I do want to move actually into the bit. I think we were on the 5th truth from The Way to God by Mahatma Gandhi. I appreciate you all listening to this. Apologies for stumbling over the words. He was quite the educated man. He used big old words. I only went to public school. Save this here. And I did a little button so when I switch it flip, so we can turn it off. Okay, so I'm gonna put that right there, and then we switch it flip to this one. Boom. So let me make sure I get back to where we left off. And we left off at the Supreme Good. This was quite lovely. All these learned men. Put it in my little setup. It's a little janky. I use my hair clippies. All right. Ooh. Okay, so I believe that we read the 5th truth, but I'd like to continue. Okay. The absolute truth, the eternal principle, that is God. There are innumerable definitions of God because his manifestations are innumerable. They overwhelm me with wonder and awe, and for a moment stun me. But I worship God as truth only. To me, God is truth and love. Give me just a moment. God is ethics and morality. God is fearlessness. God is the source of light and life, and yet he is above and beyond all these. God is conscience. I did read this. That's okay. He is even the atheism of the atheists. For in his boundless love, God permits the atheist to live. He is the searcher of the hearts. He knows us and our hearts better than we do ourselves. He is the personal God to those who need his personal presence. He is embodied to those who need his touch. He is the purest essence. He is to those who have faith. He is all things to all men. God is Sat Chit Ananda. The word Satya, truth, is derived from Sat, which means being. And nothing is or exists in reality except truth. This is why Sat, or truth, is perhaps the most important name of God. In fact, it is more correct to say truth is God than to say God is truth. And where there is truth, there is also knowledge, which is true. Where there is no truth, there can be no true knowledge. That is why the word chit, or knowledge, is associated with the name of God. And where there is true knowledge, there is always bliss, Ananda. Sorrow has no place there, and even as truth is eternal, so is the bliss derived from it. Hence we know God as Sat Chit Ananda. one who combines in himself truth, knowledge, and bliss. He is the law eternal. God is an idea, law himself. He is the law, abide everywhere, and govern everything. Therefore, though I do not think that he answers in every detail, every request of ours, there is no doubt that he rules our actions, and I literally believe that not a blade of grass grows or moves without his will. I do feel there is an orderliness in the universe, that there is an unalterable law governing everything and every being that lives and moves. It is not a blind law, for no blind law can govern the conduct of living beings. The law and the lawgiver are one. I may not deny the law or lawgiver, because I know so little about it or him. Even as my denial or ignorance of this existence of an earthly power will avail nothing, so will not my denial of God and his law liberate me from its operation, whereas humble and mute acceptance of divine authority makes life's journey easier, even as acceptance of earthly rule makes life under it easier. His infinite mercy. God is, even though the whole world deny him. God embraces not only his tiny globe of ours, but millions and billions of such globes. How can we, little crawling creatures, so utterly helpless as he has made us, how could we possibly measure his greatness, his boundless love, his infinite compassion? So great is his infinite love and pity that he allows man insolently to defy him, wrangle about him, cut the throats of his fellow men. How can we measure the greatness of God, who is so forgiving and divine? He allows us freedom, and yet his compassion commands obedience to his will. But if any one of us disdains to bow to his will, he says, so be it. My sun will shine no less for thee. My clouds will rain no less for thee. I need not force thee to accept my sway. Of such a God, let the ignorant dispute the existence. I am one of the millions of wise men who believe in him and have never tried or became tired of bowing to him and singing his glory. God is the hardest taskmaker I have known on earth. He tries you through and through. And when you find your faith failing and your body failing, you are sinking, he comes to your assistance somehow or other and proves to you that you must not lose your faith and that he is always at your beck and call, but on his terms. So I have found. I cannot recall a single instance when, at the 11th hour, he has forsaken me. He has many names. There is only one omnipotent and omnipresent God. He is named variously, and we remember him by the name which is most familiar to us. Each person can choose the name that appeals to him. Ashwara, Allah, Kuda. God means the same. Omnislash. Hello, it's nice to see you. Class driver is silly. God has 1,000 names, or rather, he is nameless. We may worship or pray to him by whichever name that pleases us. All worship the same spirit, but as all foods do not agree with all names do not appeal to all. Each chooses the name according to his associations, and he, being the indweller, all-powerful and omniscient, knows our inmost feelings and responds to us according to our deserts. In my opinion, Rama, Rahaman, Ahura Mazda, God, or Krishna are all attempts on the part of man to name that invisible force. Man can only conceive God within the limitations of his own mind. What matters then, whether one man worships God as a person and another as force, both do right according to their lights. One need only remember that God is the force among all the forces. All other forces are material, but God is the vital force or spirit, which is all-pervading, all-embracing, and therefore beyond human ken. This is a long word. Forgive me, I'm going to try a couple of times. Dari Dranar Ayan. Dari Dranar. It's another name for God. Dari Dranar Ayan is one of the millions of names by which humanity knows God and who is unnameable and unfathomable by human understanding. And it means God of the poor. God appearing in the hearts of the poor. Dari Jana. It's a long word. It has like 5 syllables. God is not a person. To affirm that he descends to earth every now and again in the form of a human being is a partial truth. which merely signifies that such a person lives near God. Inasmuch as God is omnipresent, he dwells within every human being, and all may, therefore, be said to be incarnations of him. But this leads us nowhere. Rama, Krishna, etc., are called incarnations of God because we attribute divine qualities to them. Whether they actually lived or not does not affect the picture of them in man's mind. So that chapter was about soul, God of War. Yes. Dad of War. So now, this is Gandhi's feelings on God. Love it so much. I don't have much to say that he hasn't said already. I could not outdo him in words. Now he speaks of soul. And this is something that not everybody believes in, and it's totally understandable because we do live in a time where this is not something that we exercise as often as we do our bodies or our mouths or where it is we want to work or go to school. There's just so many things about this world that take up our time that the soul is often forgotten. But it is very important to remember that while we get caught up in all sorts of things of this world, there are still billions of people elsewhere who do choose to continue to exercise the soul. And despite their circumstance and poverty, they're still able to have a resilience about them that those of us in first world countries do not. And this should be noted, where Martin Luther King suggested that pointed out that our technologies have far surpassed anything that has grown within us as far as humanity is concerned. That there really needs to be a game of catch up. And this is again why my husband and I spoke of believing that there will be a revival if there's not already one happening. We see folks like Kendrick Lamar adding the Holy Spirit into his latest work, and I really appreciate things like that. But Pursuit of Happiness, I know, but now compared to going to school though, he didn't have to do that for very long, at least when it came to trying to make it in, was it stocks? Anyways, for those of you who haven't seen Pursuit of Happiness, and it's pronounced happiness, it stars Will Smith and his son, and it's a really heartfelt movie about a man who becomes homeless, a single father who becomes homeless and pushing himself through busy city life trying to raise his young son. So now we're on to soul, and yes, catch up. We must catch up. Spark of divinity. We may not be God, but we are of God. It's such a good movie. When I first watched it, I thought of my father, but then as I got older, I had a similar moment as he did. Oh my gosh. It's really hard to raise children alone, but not just that. There are those of us who have been out of a job and just struggling, and when you finally get your break, you're like, man, this is so tough, and you just want to cry. And anyway, I know exactly how he feels, but give me a second. We may not be God, but we are of God. Hi, Leggy. It's nice to see you. Actually, let me see. Oh, yes. So my daily bread. I appreciate you for redeeming that. That's when we pull from the bread of life. And we get sweet little words from Jesus. There's little cards in here. It was so well made too, because in the end he made it. I know. I know. But it was like, it's a different kind, right? Happy sad is what my daughter says. It says here. This is it's double-sided too, so I'll read both sides. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. Psalm chapter 34, verse 19. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. Matthew chapter 21, verse 22. So I appreciate you for that redemption. Please feel free to redeem anytime. I was still working on the movie theater when the movie came out. Aww. That's such a good job to have, I think, for folks. You get to watch movies. Did you, like in your spare time, did you get to, not spare time, but on the side, there wasn't always something to pick up, right? You were able to watch? Oh, good. Well, it makes me super happy, but also sad. And then I read that that was a true story. There are bits of it that they kind of moved around. But so cute. It's not really a spoiler, okay? Because it has nothing to do with the actual story, but not when you were working. Oh, that's cool. That's so cool though. It's so expensive. Every time Ben and I go to the theater, we spend a pretty penny. It's it's not cheap. But yeah, the at the very end, this had nothing to do with the story. Okay, so it's not necessarily a spoiler. But his son is a little boy, and he says, "You wanna hear a joke?" Dad's like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "So there's a guy, and he was in the middle of the ocean, and he was about to drown, and people were coming by to help. One man was like, 'Here, I can help you,' and he goes, 'No, no, God will save me.' So that man leaves. Another man comes. He denies him too. 'No, no, God will save me.' Finally, he drowns. He gets to God and says, 'Why didn't you save me?' And God was like, 'I sent you two people.'" And then he goes, "Hee hee hee hee." The way that he laughed, though, it was not the way that I just laughed, but his laugh was very cute and baby. So, now, to Soul. I had said already, but I'll say it one more time because I think that's a beautiful opening. We may not be God, but we are of God, even as a little drop of water is of the ocean. Imagine it torn away from the ocean and flung millions of miles away. It becomes helpless, torn from its surroundings, and cannot feel the might and majesty of the ocean. If someone could point out to it that it is the ocean, its faith would revive. It would dance with joy, and the whole of the might and majesty of the ocean would be reflected in it. Fun inside fact: theaters' main objective is not to refund your money, giving you what you want. Thus, you can literally get readmission tickets after you watch your movie for any reason. Seats hurt your back, sound is the movie too loud. Really? I wouldn't take advantage of that, but I appreciate you letting me know. And for anyone else who sees that. So what you're saying is that I could just get free tickets if I complain about anything. But I'm not like that. Don't want to take advantage of stuff. I just want to put on glasses and hop from theater to theater without anyone bothering me. You know, something different though. And you all, Hawaii, I don't remember being this way. You all do assign seats here in the theater. We were just hopping around in the theaters back in Hawaii, but whatever. Maybe that keeps people honest. Man is the image of God. Man alone is made in the image of God. That some of us do not recognize that status of ours makes no difference, except that we do not get the benefit of the status. Hiya! Everyone say hi to Ollie. It's nice to see you. Look at your eyes. Cute emoji. I'm reading right now. Sign seeing is a new thing. I see. Okay. All right. It does keep people honest. And I guess you can tell exactly. No, you can still tell. You just have a certain number of seats, but yes. So Ollie used to stream. Oh, Ollie came out with this little bookie. I'm gonna show y'all. What's this book? I also realize if I don't talk into the mic, y'all can't really hear me. So the settings are terrible. Gemetsi. Let me. Sent me a link. Dang, so far away. There we go. It's such a long link though. Okay, so it's gonna look sketchy. There. Boom. So that is a guide that Ollie is selling for Twitch. So for those of you who want to take a look, it's a digital copy. It's only $1. So cheaper than 100 biddies, because with 100 biddies comes tax. Fun fact: if you sneak food in or theater hop and think you're so smart and not getting caught, it's because the workers don't. They know. They just don't care. Yeah, I bet. I know, because it's not difficult to see. Yeah, for sure. All right. So, and yes, I do like it. Ollie, I appreciate that. Wings. My mom brought in it's a fried squid. It's an Asian treat. Smells really strong, but she opened it up in the theater and felt real bad for the smell and went in and closed and put it back in her bag. So I love that he used the metaphor of the ocean. Every time I'm at the ocean, I feel like it's the hand of God. It can both smite and soothe. But anyway, so back to it. Man alone is made in the image of God. That some of us do not recognize that status of ours makes no difference, except that we do not get the benefit of the status, even as a lion brought up in the company of sheep may not know his own status, and therefore does not receive its benefits. Oh, pizza. Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, it can't be too noticeable. I do bring my leftovers. A lot of times we eat beforehand and then I'll bring it. And it's the best. We've done that before. Mr. Navad and I and a few other friends saw Everywhere Everything all at once. And I brought in my Caesar salad from the restaurant that we were in. Because we had to hurry up and eat. And I didn't finish it. And I didn't want to throw it away. Anyway. But it belongs to him nonetheless, and the moment he realizes it, he begins to exercise his dominion over the sheep. But no sheep masquerading as a lion can ever attain the leonine status. We were, I know, but we were so hungry, and we were in a predicament. But that place was really fast. They did a great job, I think. To prove the proposition that man is made in the image of God, it is unnecessary to show that all men admittably exhibit that image in their own person. It is enough to show that one man at least has done so. And it will be denied that the great religious teachers of mankind have exhibited the image of God in their persons. Go sleep. Of course, Lakey. God bless. Good night. Dream of sheep. Dream of sheep. Life is a mere bubble, he says. Our existence as embodied beings is purely momentary. What are 100 years in eternity? But if we shatter the chains of egotism and melt into the ocean of humanity, we share its dignity. To feel that we are something is to set up a barrier between God and ourselves. To cease feeling that we are something is to become one with God. A drop in the ocean partakes of the greatness of its parent, although it is unconscious of it, but it is dried up as soon as it enters upon an existence independent of the ocean. We do not exaggerate when we say that life is a bubble. Oh, Leggy needs a relaxing rest. Needs to chill. All the singing will get him too hyped, and his heart will be beating too fast. And finally, life and death. It is as clear to me as daylight that life and death are but phases of the same thing, the reverse and the obverse of the same coin. In fact, tribulation and death seem to me to present a phase far richer than happiness or life. What is life worth without trials and tribulations, which are the salt of life? I want you all to treasure death and suffering more than life, and to appreciate their cleansing and purifying character. We really appreciate where he's going with this. The body must suffer for all its ill deeds. We die to live once more, even as we live to die at last. Life, therefore, is not an occasion for joy, nor is death an occasion for sorrow. But there is one thing needful. We must ascertain our duty in life and continue to discharge it till we die. Chapter Soul. So great. Stream is great. Silly. What he's saying here, and it does connect. What he's saying is to treasure our sufferings. And I know that sounds so strange, but a lot of Buddhist monks especially will volunteer to undergo suffering. There are many, and I'm sure that some of you have noticed, those who are more in tuned or at least seeking the spirit more than their peers are probably people who've gone through much suffering. Yeah, and when you come out of it, it's not only to help others, but there are less things in this world that will affect you. But you will find that folks will be either incredibly bitter or incredibly happy. And I also find this in older people. When I say older people, I mean senior citizens are working hard and sacrifice so much to achieve the goals of maze. It does. That's why we put ourselves through so much hardship by playing difficult games as well. The boss battles are the best. I don't know about you all, but my mouth gets watery and I love it. But anyway, Death is at any time blessed, but it is twice blessed for a warrior who dies for his cause. Truth. Death is no fiend. He is the truest of friends. He delivers us from agony. He helps us against ourselves. He gives new chances, new hopes. He is like a sleep, a sweet restorer. Yet it is customary to mourn when a friend dies. The custom has no operation when death is that of a martyr. Yeah, that too. So I'm gonna, again, 5 at a time. And then after that, I think I want to look into some cards. I have this new book. Also, it's the Activity Tarot. You know how to act, say, feel to death. I wonder if I'm not sure if there's any like right way, but this is a tarot activity book. So I was telling a friend, I know the definitions of these cards. I have studied them as an Asian would before they're taking the test. But as far as intuition is concerned, whenever because I remember first what I studied, the intuition doesn't kick in the way that oracle cards do. Because I didn't study oracle cards. I just busted them out and felt what I felt. I feel more confident in them. But I want to gain more confidence with my tarot readings. Or else, what's the point of all the studying? Even creating my own definitions. I don't want to give it up. I really love it. And so I feel that this activity book will really help me dive into each individual card and certain questions to ask. Maybe we can look at them together. What have you? So, finally, freedom of choice. Man has reason, discrimination, and free will such as it is. The brute has no such thing. It is not a free agent and knows no distinction between virtue and vice, good and evil. Man, being a free agent, knows these distinctions, and when he follows his higher nature, shows himself far superior to the brute. But when he follows his baser nature, he can show himself lower than the brute. But this free will we enjoy is less than that of a passenger on a crowded deck. Man is the maker of his own destiny in the sense that he has freedom of choice as to the matter in which he uses his freedom. But he is no controller of results. The moment he thinks he is, he comes to grief. I'm going to repeat that. Man is the maker of his own destiny in the sense that he has freedom of choice as to the manner in which he uses his freedom, but he is no controller of results. The moment he thinks he is, he comes to grief. It is the man's special privilege and pride to be gifted with the faculties of head and heart both, that he is a thinking thing no less than a feeling animal. In man, reason quickens and guides the feeling. In brute, the soul lies dormant. To awaken the heart is to awaken the dormant soul. To awaken reason is to inculcate discrimination between good and evil. I'm going to read that one more time. To awaken the heart is to awaken the dormant soul. To awaken reason is to inculcate. That word is inculcate. I have never heard of this word before. Let me check. Is this a real word? Did we just make this up? Is that an error? Inculcate. It is. It means to instill. Inculcate. So I'll try to use that in a sentence. Inculcate. Inculcate. Is to instill discrimination between good and evil. I can do one more. I can. Yeah, because that's the end, and then he's on to world. Fun. Man's primary duty. It is the duty of every human being to look carefully within and see himself as he is, and spare no pains to improve himself in body, mind, and soul. He should realize the mischief wrought by injustice, wickedness, vanity, and the like, and do his best to fight them. Man's estate is one of probation. During that period, he is played upon by evil forces as well as good. He is ever prey to temptations. He has to prove his manliness by resisting and fighting temptations. Man is the maker of his own destiny. Woman, on the other hand, has the government to be the maker of their destiny when they... Stupid. During that period, he is played upon by evil forces as well as good. He is ever prey to temptations. He has to prove his manliness by resisting and fighting temptations. He is no warrior who fights outside foes of his imagination and is powerless to lift his finger against innumerable foes within, or what is worse, mistakes them for friends. It is not man's duty to develop all faculties to perfection. His duty is to develop all his Godward faculties to perfection and to suppress completely those of contrary tendencies. It is inherent in man, imperfect though he is, ceaselessly to strive after perfection. In the attempt he falls into reverie, and just as a child tries to stand, falls down again and again, and ultimately learns how to walk. Even so, man, with all his intelligence, is a mere infant as compared to the finite and ageless God. The goal ever recedes from us. The greater the progress, the greater the recognition of our unworthiness. Satisfaction lies in the effort, not in the attainment. Full effort is full victory. So what he's trying to say is what I have been trying, I can't reach this too far. It's a purpose, not perfection. This is very important. So that to recognize the things in this world that require our attention, that can only change by those who care, even if it's just one person who cares. But then within themselves to try to make that change. Not necessarily ourselves to be perfect. For instance, oh, I should stop cussing. And then every time you cuss, you feel bad about it. Will you cussing or not cussing really change the surroundings, the people around you? Will it? Not really. What will make a change, however, is to be kind to strangers, maybe holding the door for folks. It will make them think, that was nice. Random acts of kindness usually push themselves forward. It encourages others to also be kind. It is a good stress reliever. So there are some things that we should focus on, other things not so much. Give yourself some grace. Small things we can do for each other. Recognizing what we see in each other makes a bigger difference than only looking at ourselves going, oh my gosh, there's so much I have to work on, which is what he's mentioning also in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. vanity. When we continue to go, oh, me, no matter if it's good or if it's bad, I need to do this. Or I do this, you're only thinking about yourself. So you are actually useless to those around you. Women at the gym, I see, Mr. Navad, good for you. Feel silly. Good. I hope that helps with whatever endeavors you have, whatever is going on in your mind. Silly man. Okay, so I was wanting to show a video, but I don't really feel like it. I'm actually going to open up a couple of tabbies because I would like to go through my tarot cards in a way that's not as prescriptive. So remember, 2 cups, 1 sword, yes. So I did go through them all. Let me move all this stuff to the side. I did go through them all and I wrote up my own interpretations. And, that was nice enough. But again, everything, it just feels prescriptive. I like more reading Oracle, and that's unfortunate. I don't want to like reading Oracle more. So, but we and then zoom out. Prescriptive. So when a doctor prescribes medicine, it's very formulated. There's no veering from it, like a definition. If someone goes, oh, what does this mean? And someone gave you the Webster's definition of it, you'd be like, oh, okay, but then how do you use it in a sentence? And then they don't know if that's prescriptive. So let me see. Gemessy. We can use... Ooh, you all have not seen yet my Broken Mirror Tarot. They are Rider-Waite, but stained glass style. So this here, Paul Fenton Smith, really great author. He wrote all kinds of books. I had another book that just came in from him last night. He reads tarot in a very what do you call, surgical way. It's very similar to our buddy Temper Stance. what he tells you is very fast, right to the point. There isn't a lot of emotion in it, but incredibly accurate. So his practical style of reading is very different from mine, and it's good to kind of dig in a little bit to his ways. So we're gonna go through each card one more time, and we'll add some of our own feelings to it with some of these activity books, but he also tries to outline through each of the meetings stories of folks that he's encountered, and I really like the way that he structures all the information that he shares with folks. For instance, the tower that is, and let me actually, because these should be in order. As we talk about the cards, I'll go ahead and pull them out and show you all what these are. So they're not ethereal or anything like some of the other decks that I have, which is perfect because I want simplicity in this. So broken table, or broken mirror tarot. Broken mirror tarot. Jeez. Broken mirror tarot. Okay. And then we'll go in and you can see the side seams. Broken telephone game. Stupid. There's something in my hand. They have little bookies, and the little bookie has little poetry. We start off with the Fool, and let me go grab, which one is this? The Tower, yeah. So if we just like kind of go around, it's just like Beauty and the Beast to me. Especially this one. I don't know if you all recall the haggard woman that came to the prince offering a single rose for shelter from the bitter cold, and he denied her, and then she turned into an enchantress. So this here is the high priestess, again stained glass style. There's tiny ones, the little packs that I had received too. They're just okay. It's really hard to tell what some of them mean, but they do make for great gifts. So I actually leave, let me see, I leave in a little less than 10 days to Oklahoma City, and that's where I'm going to be giving some stuff away. Yeah, and then we have the Emperor. I like how they did position these nicely though, so it's nighttime for her, daytime for him. And they also added a little extra as far as details are concerned. That's pretty cool. So one is, you see on the top left, a bird that is in the air but in the midst of flight, right? And then the other with the wings outspread. Not sure exactly what it means, but again, that's why I want to dive into our intuition. Hierophant, for instance, too, it's a different way that I've never seen it depicted this way. Typically, he's on a sort of platform, but here he's overpowering the church. It's very interesting. It seems almost menacing, sinister. People bow to him almost. It's like he's the god. So there's something kind of bad about this one. And I know that I said before that as far as the Hierophant is concerned, I'm not going to put in my own bias, but this one I think is pretty obvious. It's like Jafar when he turned into a genie himself. So I'll put these back in order. The tower is what we were searching for. Yeah, let's keep them in order so it's not hard to find them. And that's what I mean. So instead of just remembering exactly what it was that we read from the definition, it's better to just sort of take a look. So in this case here, what I recall. Yeah, so good. So what I recall from the tower is justice from above, or at least retribution. For here, though, it seems that it comes from below, from the ocean. It makes me think of the Kraken, or what is it? Cthulhu. So a day of judgment. A judgment is close to being on its way, but not too close. So that wouldn't probably be a good intuitive definition of this. So where normally the tower, the tower has death from above, this comes from below. It feels kind of like fear of the ocean, if I'm completely honest. There are many of us that do have a fear of the ocean. So I suppose underlying fears may be things that people aren't always thinking about. Not always the rug being pulled from under you. The ocean is scary. So that is probably more of an intuitive way that I should read that card. And you know what? As we're doing that, I'm going to write that down. So we'll do just sort of, these are fears that you sort of keep in the back of your mind. Maybe you're not even aware of these fears. So I do have, though, an upheaval of things, but there's not always upheaval. Okay. We'll do some ocean. So what I think I should write is, subconscious fears. Yeah. Anxiety, definitely. Anxiety, because we never know what's going to happen. And then I can't write ocean per se. Just for this card, because if I grab another one, this is the ocean that I see here. Now, what does he say? There is a sudden change in the past that swept up a relationship away without warning. The resultant shock probably left a period of upheaval in your life. Can you relate to this? Okay, I see. So in this case here, for his querent, the tower was the past. So that sudden upheaval, that sudden change just left somebody kind of broken. If fans come up to you, do you kiss a napkin? Give it to them as an autograph. Silly. Oh. Hello, my love. It's Rico. Everybody say hello. Hi, Rico. It's nice to see you. How are you? Doing not readings really, but studying. We're studying our cards because my intuition is not as good for tarot as they are for oracle. But everybody say hello. It's a mess here. Don't mind that. It's horrible. But I was reading earlier, and now we are just going through some, not in order either, because that's boring. Exo Man.
I can smell
Man of War. You mean like the jellyfish? It's nice to see you. Welcome. So I'll go ahead and show my the kimchi slap. For those of you who don't know me, I'm T-Berg. And I read books and I read cards. It is really red, yeah. Faith gave me this. I really like it. Anyway, I'm T-Berg. Nice to meet you. Hi, everybody!
Live from T-Berg, it's Saturday night!
For today's special episode, how Asian T-Berg is. We're gonna be making kimchi!
Yeah, that. Are we gonna do that?
No, bitch! The traditional Korean spoon to try. That's spicy as fuck.
Why are you so
She's fucking adopted. That's your best American accent. Please.
Tonight on the news. Earthquakes, firestorm, New York.
What else did you think of?
5 people.
Why does this thing go away?
What thing? Oh, God.
Right in the tit.
Me. The moon is scared of the queen. Flippin' hat, yeah, yo, garden hose. Well,
Her name is Ho. What a coincidence.
girl, that's weed.
Yes, Mariana. Do you smoke? Right, well, we are weed friendly.
Open your mouth, shut your eyes. Rude, super hoe.
You're Korean inside.
Korean heart. Yeah, I'll match the gathering cards. Yes. Oh, Rico, you're so sweet. Rico, how are you? How's everything? Very kind of you to bring your family here. So back into our studies, my loves. So this is what I mean about being more intuitive. So when and where was the last time I had an epiphany? And this is in terms of the tarot. We'll zoom in a little bit more because we can see. Don't look at my mess all around. Outstanding, good. Good, I'm happy to hear it. I'm happy to know that. Yeah, I guess my lipstick is pretty red, huh? But I was very careful with
I
So
can
good.
smell you.
Oh, all the hugs, all the hugs. I really love so Cartoon Tune and Drugs has a very active Instagram and shows really fancy watches from time to time. And our friends Farkalidi and Mighty Lion were talking about watches, and I had mentioned that you are a collector of watches. Are you sponsored by somebody? Is this why? And I appreciate all the hugs. But yeah, so when was the last time I had an epiphany? Epiphanies. I mean, he has all kinds of them. They're really fancy. Super fancy. Big old pieces. Last time I had an epiphany, and you all chime in if you have had one recently, or just when the last time it was, it's when I was watching the Heretic. It's about Rob Bell, a former charismatic megachurch pastor that got pushed out. That's right. Yes, yeah, that's okay. And he has, there's a documentary about him that was suggested to me by another friend. And he said, there is a reason why 100 years ago we were okay with things like segregation and slavery. But why is it now today we are not okay with such things? Because there is truly a collective consciousness as far as humans are concerned. We're supposed to learn together. The biggest reason why God pushed us to first love God and then love others, not just simply love God and that's it, step away from everybody, or only love others and only focus on that, because we had to be guided every day of our lives with each other so that we could move together. Because if you're looking at God and you really do care about God, you are going to want to be around his children. You're going to want, just like with our parents want nothing more, usually, than for all the children to get along. Not political. I don't think so. We are supposed to move together. And this is something that Rob Bell points out. And I really appreciated that. So that was the last epiphany that I had. And it did uproot what I had been thinking. I thought that I was just supposed to do well. Watch reviews in fashion. I see. No worries. But so I thought that I was just supposed to do right. I was no more cussing, trying not to do this and that, but it's ridiculous. So what a waste of time, and it's so selfish. Because we all already think about ourselves constantly. So now what can we do for others? So what part of our environments do we need to restructure? How can we best do so? What? Restructuring environments so we can exist. Is that something that you search for, though, Cartoon and Drugs? And what do you want to be a reviewer of watches and fashion, or do you just sort of fall into it? What's up? We'll move on. What is breaking up in our life? Breaking up. So I don't really identify with a lot of these questions, but I suppose that's because it's probably something I'm supposed to ask the querent. Oh, we'll go ahead and move on. 8 of Pentacles is next. Remember, Pentacles are coins, representative of earth and pragmatism. And as far as the 5 of Pentacles are concerned, when, and again, this is just a little bit different. The Rider-Waite shows 2 people walking in front of a church, and they look poverty-stricken. Fashion is your passion, I see. Starting a clothing brand. Oh, well, good for you. So you're starting a clothing brand, or you already did? And do you hope to move out to LA, perhaps? They have lots of stuff out here. Oh my gosh, Docky, hiya! It's nice to see you. I appreciate y'all bringing your family here on this sweet Wednesday. You will in the future. Good. Everybody say hi to Doc Rocks. It's nice to see you. Doc is also Cali native. We were able to meet up not too long ago. And it was quite nice. It was after TwitchCon. But I appreciate you bringing all of your family. I have, let me think. I can show... I'll just show the wholesome. Yeah. No, we'll do wholesome.
What does Pitbull?
What?
Jigga jigga. Call the girl Bojangles.
It's a private plane, y'all.
The shitter.
Let me turn this up.
That's right.
$25 million, they said. You look just like Naruto. And I'm like,
Naruto's not dead. Nah.
Minato is Naruto's dad.
Who is Minato?
because I know you.
Would you like to be punished as Sponge Queen? No facials?
Well, you can't escape it. Boom.
You're being a naughty boy.
You're gold. Y'all shit gold. Eat it all. No, that's weird.
Because from behind is better. One more time.
Okay, no, I do know this because you're a hoe.
Fucking Minato.
Fuck is Minato?
Minato. Obviously.
And so am I.
With this one, she's Asian as fuck. I appreciate you all watching that with me. Rialala? Riahala? You let me know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. You came with Cartoon Jazz. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you for coming through. T-Berg. It's nice to meet you. Hello, MF Ezra. It's nice to see you as well. So, I am going to continue on. I don't really like the look. Again, I read cards. Raya. I see. Okay, easy. But Daki, how are you? What are you doing? How was your birthday? Last time I saw Doc was during his birthday stream. Did you enjoy yourself? And I know that you probably have to do your post stream cleanup, so you go. I'm going to continue on with the learnings of these cards. Right now it's the Five of Pentacles. Your birthday was great? Good. I'm good. Right now we have a guest. Fluffy Poop. You all may have seen her. Fluffy Poop is here now. I don't know if she's come back home yet. She and her honey were exploring, but she'll be staying here until next week. The tarot got you. Yes, there's a category. There is. So if you actually wanted a reading, Raya, you can have a reading. I'd love to give you one. And since you already know Cartoon and Drugs, this shouldn't be too painful, I trust. Well, look at that. So if you go to that website there from my Sakura and Tease Nuts, you can see all the different decks that I have. Or I could just simply show you. So these are all the... Oh, wait. What happened? Ayo. Hold on. Oh, you're a tarot reader as well. What? Do you read on stream? You read on stream too? Hold on. There's supposed to be something that popped up. Because I had to restart my computer, it's not working. So let me go ahead and set that up again. This is some BS. Hold on a moment. I have a whole little desk thing. It's a whole little desk thing. It's quite nice. Really? Yeah. And what are your pronouns? Raya. So let me hold on. Hold on a minute. There. Stupid. Jeez. Okay. Now there we go. Boo. Silly. Alright. When I don't know what to call someone, I'm just gonna say they, them, alright? Yeah, High Priestess. You stupid dog. Yeah, High Priestess. Good. She heard. Okay, gotcha. So I have a whole stash. We have these. I just love art. I've realized that I really love art. I got some Banksy Tarot. I got some Korean Oracle. The first time that Doc was able to pop in with me, we did Manshin for him. You made your own. What? Do you sell them? Where are they? Where can we see these? We have some from Mr. Navad. That's the Kuan Yin. Hello, Xana. How are you? Nice to see you. Welcome back. We have Empyrean. That is from the Threads of Fate. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and bust those out. But we also just recently received these, and I think that you'd really appreciate them. They're called Ethereal Dreams. And I was actually I was trying to make a website with these. So they utilize these folks from the Model Society. So there's art, there's nudity here, but it's very classy. And they actually use our traditional, what do you call it? I don't want to say bicycle suits, if that's correct. So we have, aces, clubs, diamonds, and hearts. But they do have also the major arcana. They don't stand out the way that we know them to be. So again, we'd have to use our intuition more for these, but they're quite lovely. We get some boba from time to time, not always. So yeah, anytime that you want a reading, you let me know. So actually, the last time that we were here doing this, we were renaming some of these because I was making a website. I grew weary of it, and also my boss asked me to get back off of R&D. It's been decided we're gonna go ahead and just use React Native. So I'll go ahead and put these on the side. Yeah. Put these on the side, and then we're gonna bust out the Empyrean. So the Empyrean, they are not tarot. The Empyrean are oracle cards. I'm opening them up now. I think altogether, and I had written down how many we have. We have 44. So these are all holographic. So we have Unfurl. These are some of the latest ones that we pulled for folks. Breath was another that I appreciated, because breath, for Hebrew definitions, when they speak of God, that's his name. Cannot even be spoken, it's simply breath. So dagger I did not pull for anybody, but actually I kind of want to read into what that is. You are what? Very interesting. So when did you find this out about yourself? So page 13, the dagger. Many of us were gifted for endless compassion and understanding, a desire to forgive, to move forward with peace, to give the benefit of the doubt. These are wonderful qualities to have, but without balance, they can give birth to unruly forces in our lives and the world at large. Each soft response is an injustice that can bring about a deeper wound in the future. Each "let's just move on" becomes a grain of sand that grows in a large hill that can no longer be contained. Each human is born into a gray area. Every day, we get to choose whether we will be good or not. For those that choose not to be, there must be a response beyond sending them on their way. This is also true for that which lives in our head that seeks to hold us down. You super excited? So when did you learn, though, that you were clairvoyant or clairaudient? I was just reading about that too. I have this other intuition read that I have been studying up on. We must learn to cut away what it needs. The dagger finds you when it's time to embrace the warrior within, and a good warrior knows when to be soft and kind, just as you have already been taught this, but it also knows when it's time to use the sword instead of the shield. Each day more and more, people are waking up and seeing the necessity of the sword. The systems we live within are not tenable and will require force to be brought down. Compassion and pleading cannot do this, and they never have. You may be reading this, fearful that you are being drafted into a war you are not ready for. But this card insists that whatever battle you are facing, big or small, you are ready. Tend to the fire within. Lace your spine with iron. Grab your dagger. It's time. You went through your spiritual awakening about 3 years ago. You thought you met your twin flame, but they were karmic. You went through another one because you actually met your twin flame. I see. Good for you. And so is this something that you do for a living? Do you do more than tarot? Do you do other things? So dagger, that's so interesting. So unfurl. And I was talking about this the last time I pulled this. This is one of the angels who has wings that cover their eyes because they cannot see God. At least it would be dangerous for them to see God. And breath, again, means God. So this was reminding us to let what we have inside go. There's really no need to hold it back anymore. We're allowed to release ourselves. Always been. You ignored it out of fear. I see. I know what you mean by that. A friend of mine and I were just talking about how there were some bouts of what we thought were hauntings, but not quite. That we weren't really scared. So to unleash the powers that we have, that were at least the gifts that were given to us. Hello, Punjab. It's nice to see you, my love. How are you? It's nice to see you. And that God was pushing us to let this go, but also to not be too soft. Just like what Martin Luther King Jr. was saying, to not be soft-minded, to not to be hard of heart, but to be as cunning as a snake. You get a lot of messages in dreams and in random thoughts. I see. Very nice, very nice. Well, I'm glad that you came, good sir. But how is everything otherwise? How's your wife? These new shoutouts look nice. They seem a little better thought out. All right, so let me see. Jesse. Yeah, Saria, if you want to have a reading, totally down. If not, no pressure. I'll just go back. And we'll study up on some of these others. Ooh. I think that's cool too. Maybe one person give you a reading. That's when you're first learning an angel number start chasing me. What do you mean angel numbers started chasing you? Let me feels right. Okay. So, and it's up to you. You don't have to. You could just, well, no, you don't have to do that. But you let me know what you've been thinking, what's been going on. So I do like to first set the intention. It's very important to me. I'm going to clear up some of this mess. What's a mess? With everything that we do, we always have to give thanks. It's so important, and it really helps to reset everything that goes on in this world, good or bad, to always wake up and give thanks for what we have, who we have, and the lessons that are to come for the day. So in this way, I have a small, it's not really, I guess it's a little bit of a ritual. If Christ sat at our table, I'd like to give him some of the wine that I'm drinking, and I'd like to pour it for him first. So this is the wine for Jesus. You'll notice here, this doll is so cute. This little sword, my husband gave to me. This is supposed to be Wonder Woman's, what they call God Killer. And then I just put it, because he says, I don't get me wrong, so I come with the sword. Okay, all right, I like that. About books and tarot. You're learning about ascension numbers. Angel, I see, okay. You made your move. Things have been good, great. Yeah, I know they're everywhere as well, but you always ask permission to be allowed in energy. Oh, good, I see. Good, I think that's a good practice. So we pour one for Jesus, and then we pour one for all of you, for everybody that will meet, and then for me. And finally, we light a candle white to symbolize purity. Jesus reminds us that he is the light of the world. And that whatever messages come out for any one of you, that you just know that you're loved and cherished and you're sacred beings. This is the truth. Doesn't matter what you feel, how bad you feel, you are a sacred being. Anyways, please tell me what has been going on in your life. Good, bad, doesn't matter. Do you want a general reading? And trust your intuition, have faith, trust in divine timing. Love it. I know, that's a hard part for people because the world tells us to push through, to continue to work, never stop. It's a race, it's a rat race. But the spirit tells us to let it all go. So you're like, well, then which one? Do I have to work? Do I not have to work? What do I have to do? Okay, I'm gonna put this over there. And do you want Oracle? Do you want Tarot? It is my personal feeling, because you are such a spiritual person yourself, that we should do Kuan Yin Oracle, actually. Or we can do the Empyrean. It's up to you. But I'd like to know a little bit of background first. And it sounds like we have some folks that are back. You let me know. I'm gonna go ahead and show the stash one more time. And also, here's the link. Yes. For a reading, yes. Unless no. Up to you. Choices. For you, I really feel Empyrean. Whoever wrote this out is very spiritual. So I feel that you're also a very spiritual person. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm gonna mix these up. All you're gonna do for me, so let me mix them up first. I'd like to know just a little bit though what's been going on in your life. Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna mix them up a bit. Let me get back into the main page. And they're quite heavy. They're little heavy little cards. They're like they feel like a yoga instructor. But one that doesn't bullshit. One that's a little older, been through a lot, maybe one divorce, probably has a child. So a lot's been going on. Okay. Good, bad, neutral. What's been happening? Tammy. Childhood trauma. Okay. So currently in the process of healing. You're wanting to heal. At the end of the healing. Harassment. Okay. Sorry to hear that. I'm glad to know it was your previous job. Narcissistic fan, I tell you. Oh, that's the common theme, huh? That's where K-drama, don't worry about it, I understand. That's where K-drama gets all their stories from. Just they're all real life stories about our moms and dads and yeah, let's shuffle one more time. I'll try to be somewhat neutral about it, okay? K-drama's good. K-drama's fun. All right. So pick for me out of 44, 3 numbers, any order. For instance, we can do 41, 1, and 15. Any order. Just 3 numbers, please. Out of 44. Beautiful, thank you. So I got your last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Beautiful, beautiful. If you need any clarity, we can pick out of 41 up to 2 cards each, okay? Well, let me just dive right in. So what do we have here? Attract. I really love this card because it looks like, okay, it says attract, but it looks a little phallic. It's like there's balls at the end. But there's a bit of aggression in this, if not a lot of aggression. You know, it's a double matter of the heart. Okay, we got a lot to unpack. All right, so we're just erect. Okay, the lion, strength, yes. So these are oracle. There's a little bit of inspiration for tarot, but at both stages, even when we're chode or fully erect, angry, just roaring. Okay. Doesn't even seem like there's release. And this is how I feel just from looking at the image. There's beautiful wordage that goes with each card, but so far there's just this pent up energy, okay? Unable to release. Dream. When I first ever opened these cards, I had an upside down dream also, so we are going to read them in reverse. Perhaps you don't feel like you're able to. You know that there are some things that you're certain of wanting, but they don't feel attainable. And it must be because you're restricted, unable to release this energy that you have. And hand in hand, it makes sense. All of us have dreams, and sometimes these dreams, I don't believe they all really die. They just sort of get covered up with the BS that goes on in this world. And finally, ether. When I first learned of the word ether, this was through What We Do in the Shadows. It's a really silly spin-off of vampires. If they were roommates, you all may have seen it. It's super stupid. But whenever a vampire is trying to take control of a victim, they actually send their energy through the ether. And if you can imagine when we're sleeping, and for those of you who believe that you receive messages from anyway, spiritual messages, or you're able to do anything spiritually, we are in what's called the ether when this occurs. So there was a time that I was praying really hard. A friend had a dream about me. And then reached out the next day. So he could feel my soul in the ether is what I said. You dreamt about a horse? So horse also means a lot of pent up energy. And I feel almost sexual energy. But now we look into what the author has to say about these things. This is what I feel. But now being able to, you aren't able to release any of this though. You know that you possess these qualities, these spiritual qualities, but there's a definite blockage of it. And spiritual qualities are not, for the rest of you, only meant for us to do each other's card readings or what have you. It's really to have this resilience in this life and to be able to push through the BS in this world. And even if everything doesn't make sense, to try to believe that there is a reason behind it, because if not, there doesn't seem to be a point. So I know for some folks, it's not easy to understand why people believe themselves to be spiritual, how we can believe in things that we cannot see. But if you note, almost everybody believes in gravity, yet you cannot see gravity. But someone told you gravity is real. Gravity is what keeps us grounded. Think of faith in the same way. It keeps us grounded. We know that it exists, but also it has a consciousness. All right. So attract. Let me see. They don't put it in alphabetical order. 69, girl. Ah. Let's see. Babe. Oh no. Let me see. Alright. So Twitch froze. Sorry to hear that, but I'm sorry that you had to watch ads. As far as ads are concerned, I thought that I only had them set to the beginning, but I guess I did that incorrectly. Anyway, welcome back. Oh, it's okay, it's okay. I don't want it to be interrupted. But, attract. Girl, you're on page 69. Chiki chiki. The book is all falling apart. It's awful. Need to refresh? Yeah. It's Anna, you're so sweet and cute. Happiest New Year to you, by the way. So attract. To attract is to enter the spiral dance. Contrary to what many viral online creators will tell you, to attract, to be aligned, is to decide to live in a construction site. Oh, yeah. You're so sweet. It is not nearly as one-dimensional as it seems and extends far beyond the vision board. When we begin to focus on what we want, we are often first met with what we don't want. We open the door only to find an old pattern staring us in the face. So I told you, but in both chode form, okay, so when you're, no matter what, you feel like you're trapped, okay? And what the author is trying to explain, you're ready to move on and change these old habits or these bits of toxicity that sort of keep you from doing what you want to do. Is this page 69 yet? Raging Sushi, I appreciate the follow. So sweet. But so you're going to be first met with what you don't like. So while we try to escape our current situation, whatever it may be, we have to look dead in the face with what's been following us around, okay? When we open the door only to find an old pattern staring us in the face, it is our first temptation. We may want to feed it because it feels comfortable and familiar, but the magic is letting it starve. So don't feed into these old habits, okay? It is closing the door in its face and saying, I don't know what will happen next, but I know I want something different. So you mentioned earlier, you choose to trust. And it sounds like the way that you're saying it is a new feeling. And I'm so happy to hear that. Like, it gives me goosebumps to know. And I assume that, you're not in your 40s or 50s. You're choosing you, us. And you saying that you choose to have faith and trusting the divine, that this is where you're supposed to be. Beautiful, beautiful. Not much I have to say other than they're perfect. 32? Okay. Love it. Yeah, see, some people are on their deathbeds when they finally realize that, hey, you know what? My patterns are not serving me. Not serving me, not serving others. Now I'm all alone. I'm really glad that you're coming to the realization. In your early 30s, good for you. That is not common, right? So know that. Beautiful. We may then move a bit closer to what we want, but not quite. We may toy with it, letting it play out until we cut it loose and move on again. Each step is moving us closer to our true desire. The experience we really want to have. It is not a straight line, so do not get discouraged when you engage in energies that feel lower than what you want to have. Trust yourself enough to know when to stop. We must let ourselves get reborn again and again in this process, so do not expect to arrive. You will fall and skin your knees, but get up and keep smiling. The key to attracting is play. Let yourself enjoy the game. Come alive in the dance while we are still stretching toward the stars. You spend a lot of time reflecting and being by yourself. That is so you're in hermit mode then. And hermit upright, okay, where you're trying to seek answers. You're not hiding away. Good. I'm happy to hear that. So, dream. Dream is quite powerful. I'm super stoked about Dream. 81. It's on page 81. What a gift it is to dream. And you mentioned that's where you find you can stretch your spiritual wings. To letting our minds be a time capsule, to finding wishbones in the crevices of our thoughts. When so much of this life is gravity, pulling us back down to the ground, telling us to know our place, the fighter keeps dreaming. To dream is to find softness among concrete. It's letting ourselves believe in magic. Continuing to look for the upswing, trusting that sooner or later you'll stick the landing. So you keep telling yourself everything's going to be okay, you're on the right path. What's meant to you will find you in divine timing. Good. Is it hard though? Are there times where you tell yourself this and you don't feel convinced? Because I feel that way sometimes. I try to remind myself it's going to be okay. but I have to actually do something. I have to either pray or dramatic in the moment. Yeah, me too. I'm like, I know, same. So I have found whatever it was that made me feel good, and when I had that same feeling, I repeated. I'm not sure if you have any sort of methods that you go back to that you can rely on, but prayer definitely, meditation for some, looking up any kind of anything, writing in your journal, perfect. Journal writing is great. It forces us to focus on one word at a time. Oh my gosh, El Nino, happiest new year. Everyone say hi to El Nino. El Nino just had a massive move, huge moves. For all the pictures, so wonderful. Good for you, El Nino. But happiest new year. It's nice to see you, my sweetest friend. So, it says, trusting that you will stick the landing. We're doing Ria's reading right now. Trust you'll stick the landing. It is its own practice. You don't have to know. You don't have to fit your dreams into a box. Package them to be sold on a shelf or market them so they're digestible. You can let yourself see without trying to make sense of it. When the time is right to give birth to a dream, you will know it. It will work its way through you, asking to be seen, tapping you on the shoulder, asking, remember me? You won't feel like treading water but a hand outstretched. Until then, keep dreaming. Right. I got you. El Nino, how's everything though? Yes, Raya. Like Mariah. I got you. Now finally, Ether. So there, maybe you don't feel like you're allowed to let yourself dream like I was mentioning before. That's why we're reversed, because of all that you had mentioned. There's just so much that is going on. But I told my daughter that, so I have a 14-year-old, to allow herself to dream of the future, because that's what pushed me to have better grades. The reason why it came up is because she had crappy grades. Okay, some of our seeds, that's true. Mr. Nevada, okay. Anyways, I'm glad that you and El Nino get to run into each other. But El Nino, what has been happening? So Ether, finally, Ether, and just when you think it's nothing, it's everything. New and fresh experiences. Good. I'm good, El Nino. I have been really trying hard to just sort of get back into the groove of things after my sister had left. Fluff, I told you. Fluffy, you're so cute. Fluffy, how was your day today? Check his Instagram, Mysteria. You'll see the picture. It's gonna get you kind of choked up though. Go check his Insta. Okay, so finally. We may never be able to comprehend the idea of universal energy. No, you're cute. Yo, did you eat? We play with it like mercury broken free of a thermometer. Just when we think we have it, that's when the lens we now see through, it dances away from us like a flame, and we are back to the bustling streets, shouting at faceless traffic. We are one has become a trope that we've outgrown. It's repeated to calm anxieties, to unify when there's a fracture, to soothe when we feel the heat of anger. It doesn't come close to capturing the true magnitude of all that we are. Of how truly connected everything and everyone is. Each of us is minuscule threads in a fabric woven together, stretching across time and space. A fabric that can shift and move, swell and contract, but cannot be torn or destroyed. It's a good day. Yummy food. Creeped on Santa Monica. Good. Good. It was a very nice day today, as far as the temperature was concerned, so it's actually quite perfect. But yes, El Nino, big old move. Huge move. The magic of knowing that we are the ether is having the ability to transform and expand at any given moment. It is trusting, as we mentioned before, but the same atoms that make up this universe, that stretch on for eternity, that hold so much mystery and alchemy, live within us. We can mirror their rhythm. We can tear down the leaves that keep us trapped in this world made of steel and begin believing in the ever possible infinite, where ease is attainable, where the difference between love and hate is hair thin, just a decision. We can embody the untamable wild that is the burning stars, the diamonds that rain on Jupiter, the laugh of the bold spirits that echo through galaxies. So there's a lot of terminology in there that folks who are just enlightened would be like, oh, duh. So as far as I'm concerned, that wasn't a duh. There's a lot that goes on as far as ether is concerned, because it's talking of the spirit realm for you, Raya. But Bronner, hi, my love. I'm well. How are you? We're just finishing up a reading for a new friend of ours, Raya. We'll say hi to Bronner. Bronner is also a streamer who is very entertaining. Takes the this whole venture very seriously, and there's so much great production quality in his work. So if you have a chance, go give him a look-see, and I'm positive that you will enjoy yourself. No. There's no disruption. It's nice to see. So just finishing up. So Raya, again, you have, you know your potential. You know that it doesn't matter in what state you are. You just want to go to the rooftops and scream it out. You haven't really thought that you could let yourself dream, but still you are aware of your potential. And finally, getting lost while you dream, just as you've mentioned before in the spirit world, where you can let your wings expand at full wingspan, would be the most helpful, because sometimes when we wake up, especially from an empowering dream, we feel like the day is not really going to bring us down as it's been used to. Working a lot. Well, sorry to hear that. In a good way. Working towards a promotion. But you let me know, Raya, if you need any clarity on that, and I appreciate you for letting me read for you. So I do have, I didn't want to stay on for too long. Been doing between 3 to 5 hours worth of streams, but we do have, yeah. So unless anyone else you want clarity, okay. Which card do you want clarity on? So actually, I'm going to give you one more, and this is from another oracle. And this, Mr. Navad there. Oh. El Nino, you're super sweet. So El Nino, do you have your whole PC set up over there? Are you going to be streaming for us in Kuwait? And have you already started working, or are you taking it easy a little bit? Okay, so we have Kuan Yin Oracle. This is from Mr. Navad. And Alana Fairchild, she's a highly renowned spiritual leader in Australia. So from these cards, actually, I think there's also 44. You're going to give me one number, just one. And this is going to be your clarity card. But what in particular? Was there one in this set that didn't make sense to you? He's been showing you his eyeball. I remember because I was there. And it was a great green eyeball. You only took your PS5. Back at home. Ayo. I mean, you can okay. Wait, so where's your computer though? You gotta rebuild a new one. Can you record it? Like Henry Cavill? Can you record it like that guy? Please. Shirt off, please. 13, okay. I'm just kidding, or not. You just have to make sure you put your hand on the bottom. People will love it. Okay, 13, thank you. Shuffle a few times. Get it in good. Oh, it all stacks up. Look at that, it all stacks up. We'll put it here. Yes. Guess. It's actually pretty hard to transport a PC. So I can see it's better. I don't know. I'd be really sad to part with mine. I would try to take mine, but okay. But how's everything? You got any friends out there? Other folks that you know already? Or was it just I don't care, I'm moving? When I came out here to LA, I had to make sure there were folks that were in first. just in case things went down. I'm a little lady. Okay. We're gonna do one more shuffle and then grab your hair. There's so many. Slutty spaghetti, that's nice to meet you. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Alright. Yeah, one person that you work with, that you can say is a really good friend. Good. That is really great to hear. Alright, so this is your one clarity card. Dynasty of the Divine Mother. So Kuan Yin, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is very similar to a saint. It is someone who's achieved enlightenment, but instead of choosing to move past this life and head into nirvana, they stay out of compassion to help others find their own paths to enlightenment. So, Kuan Yin is highly renowned. This number is screaming at you. I see. All right. Now the number of the card is actually 8. So infinity and the ladies of the sun. Oh, in a good look. Are they good looking? El Nino. Oh, I see. Kuwait has sexy ladies? Interesting. I mean, I need to see pictures, just for research purposes. All right, so Dynasty of the Divine Mother. We're going to throw this in the center. So Kuan Yin, well, you just summarized your philosophy class faster than you. Jeez. Pictures of, you know what I'm saying? I think that's really important, El Nino, that you show us what you mean by this. What do you mean by these ladies over there? Now, so Kuan Yin, though, her particular story is such a compassionate woman. If I was to liken her to anybody, it would be Mother Teresa. You'll see her depicted at times with many arms. And the reason for this is because in her venture to help others, whomever she came across, both of them broke. So the divine had gifted her many so that she could pursue her continued work as the bodhisattva or saintly duties that she volunteered for. I think you should do that. We need proof ASAP. But I'm glad to hear that there's potential over there. Mother Teresa. So Mother Teresa is a Catholic saint, highly renowned. Wonderful individual. Really helps us to look outside of ourselves as well. So Kuan Yin is similar. Now, Dynasty of the Mother Divine. My only wish of the Mother Divine is that all beings are spiritually free. So this is Alana Fairchild's words. The divine calls us to realize our true nature, to fall in love with our own divinity. Enlightenment is a culmination of many small steps, each one as a drop of water, forming a divine ocean of peace, realization, love, and unity within us. An ocean that washes away fear, separation, scarcity, and bathes us in abundance and bliss. You carry the torch of enlightenment within you, beloved. Let it shine each day. Sometimes we imagine enlightened beings to be other species than to everyday humans. Yet there is an old Eastern saying that goes, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. Your phone is at 13%. Okay, I'll speed it up. What it's saying is that to get to spiritual peace is don't be afraid of doing the small tasks. That's what it is trying to say. Every small bit that you do, holding a door open for somebody, double checking that a buddy is okay when you know something bad has happened to them, going a little further to make sure that whatever work you submit to your instructors is better quality than what you typically. Never to do anything rush. Take your time. Being in the moment. Okay, good. All right, well then I can read the rest of it because it's quite beautiful words, my love. So, enlightenment is made manifest through the small actions we take each day, and I can't stress this enough. Sometimes the smallest action can feel like an enormous leap, and yet when an action is taken, we realize that the journey into peace is something we can choose to take at any moment. any moment, at any time, can you enjoy the moment that you're in, realize that it's fleeting, and live in it. And that's when you really let go. Children really help us understand this. The dynasty of the Divine Mother is her spiritual legacy, her endless compassion for human suffering, and her intent to lift humanity out of ignorance into peace, which shines through, like with Kuan Yin. This oracle indicates that your spiritual legacy is important on this planet. You are a channel for the dynasty of the Divine Mother, for the enlightenment of all beings. We contribute to the Divine Mother's dynasty through our choices and creations. From our inner thoughts, we hold onto the projects in which we invest time, energy, and money. These become part of spiritual legacy we pass on to generations to come. So I mentioned before that we don't have a singular purpose, we have a combined purpose. Where 100 years ago, we as a society thought that it was okay to have segregated school systems, establishments, public restrooms. We no longer think it is appropriate. That is when humanity grows together. We're not supposed to, by ourselves, learn to become kind to one another. We're supposed to do this together. And that is what bodhisattvas, saints, and the like are trying to teach us. All these spiritual leaders, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, are trying to express to us when you achieve enlightenment or peace is because you aren't moving on your own, you're bringing others with you. So, Raya, that's what I would like to impart to you finally, is that even though you're struggling with family members, you have had that bit of heartbreak, work has not been kind to you either. True power, and I'm not going to push this, is in your time, okay, is forgiveness. I forgive this person, these are next steps, for the things that they had done. If people knew how awful they were, they wouldn't do these things. I really believe this. There are some instances where I wonder if evil people can be truly evil, but giving somebody the grace to realize if you knew how you affected others around you, you wouldn't do this thing. That is your forgiveness. That as well. Always spread kindness, compassion. Now, when I pulled the dagger for myself, though, the dagger was to remind us to stand our ground also, okay? To be, being kind and compassionate also means to say, hey, excuse me, this is my boundary and you've crossed that line. I'm not going to do anything mean to you, but you're going to go ahead and step back before things get ugly. I do believe that that's a kindness too. To let people know you're not going to push me that far. And this is my safe space, and as I wouldn't do the same to you. So I think it's important for all of us to remember that being kind doesn't mean being a pushover. Always. Don't do that. Not good. Like with babies. Stop that. Bad. We don't have to share. Yeah, they don't even know how to share. But anyway, I hope that that clarified a little bit for you. You said that there was a lot, but it was more of a general reading, I feel, but also generally what you had. It was a lot. So one reading is not going to help. I think you already know your steps forward. You learned that the hard way. Oh yeah, I know. Same. All of us do. We're all actually pretty nice until someone shows us that maybe we shouldn't be so nice. Thank you again. Excuse me for letting me read for you. So I'm going to put these away. What a mess. But I like the idea of pulling more than one card. I have a buddy, she goes by Stony Baloney. Really amazing card reader. The first time I ever had a reading from her, she actually did 3 decks of cards. And they were all different. She shuffles them super well. Love her voice. Beautiful woman. She doesn't often stream, but once in a while, when she does, I will try to announce it. Hello, Orchids. Nice to see you again. Welcome back. How are you? How are you? Happiest New Year. No, Raya, thank you. That was nice. When it comes to reading these things, especially the interpretations, I feel like that we do it together. We're all learning together. That would be great. See cards. That would be cool. Yes. I really appreciate that. Zip. You're well. Good. What did you do for the holidays? Did you get to relax at all? Everyone say hi to Orchid. Haven't seen Orchid in a bit. Gonna put these away. So don't forget, I also have what we call ham tarot. Oh, do you? What does that entail? Raya. What does that do for us? What a mess. Alright, so when we refer to ham tarot, they're tiny. Teeny tiny cards. Got a little ham tarot right there. These things away nicely. And I have, so we put it inside. Yeah, we got one candle. I got a candle. This is the one. Actually, the positioning is just perfect. Hold on. There. The OCD. There. All right. Now. So we have this shell. Long time ago, I had done a reading for our Helmash, and she had received a card about the sufferings of the pearl and what it takes. And so we were going into what it takes to make a pearl. So I was thinking about this, and she was also one of the first I had done tiny tarot for. So to do this, they're teeny tiny, tiniest. Okay, I'm gonna grab one. And I'm gonna flip it. What is this? Ooh. And I have this little platform here. Platform 9 3/4. We have the Three of Wands in reverse. Now, again, I remember the definitions of these, but I do really want to try to use my intuition. And also, I found one more that just kind of fell on the side. This is the Magician, okay? E. So, oh, wait, too high. And it means something different. It opens the doorway. Spiritual cleansing, I see. Moon water. Huh, interesting. Okay, all right. I appreciate you explaining. So instead of only thinking of definition, I really want to go off of feeling. They're so cute and tiny. What I feel from the Three of Wands reverse is trepidation for going out, knowing that the journey is going to be difficult, it's going to be long, it's going to be hard. You're still learning. Okay, we all are, right? We're learning together. Upright one understands that imagine first entering into college, knowing you got 4 years ahead of you. Maybe you want to be a doctor, you have 8 to 10 years ahead of you. When we're reversed, you don't feel ready for that. You know what's to come, but you're like, I'm not sure I want to take that step. Because if you look, and you can see it's a little bit closer, that it looks like a desert. It's just nothingness ahead of them, but wanting to trust, wanting to gain more wands. The whole theme of wands is this man is just not satisfied with the one that he has. He receives first that inspiration, and then when it comes to the second, he continues to look out into what he could have, and more finally when we get to the 10th, he has so many that he can barely carry them. On the spiritual side of TikTok. I see. Okay, so the only reason why I have TikTok is so I can spy on my daughter and make sure that she's not doing anything crazy. But I see. I got you. One of my buddies said that they received a reading from someone via TikTok. Sorry, it's so tiny I can't even reach it. Okay, so for the Magician, I appreciate that it's upright. Okay, it's someone who's in control, is a master, an expertise of their craft. I had actually And again, I went through each. They prepare for everything that they do. They don't simply go into a situation not knowing what's going to happen. They likely have already been in a situation like this, know what they'll do the next time it happens. So the theme for Upright Magician, I prepare. Someone who's efficient, ready for action, confident, likely successful, focused, understands that the way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. It's Proverbs chapter 12, verse 15. And also prepared for change. What's noteworthy about the magician is not only the infinity above his head, but that there is each element of the tarot deck before him. Oh my gosh, Orchid, I'm really happy to hear that. I hope to learn together. Not to mention that he's performing whatever rite he's performing outside. He holds his sword upright, so it's not leaning as the King of Swords has it, where there's a bit of flexibility there. He is certain that this is what he wants to do. I happen to think of the Magi. We also call them through wise men. Those are the astrologers that came from the east that wanted to worship Jesus when he was born in Bethlehem. So I think of the same people, where they are masters of the elements here on this earth, but definitely have a connection to the spirit, and that's what the infinity symbol represents. So just for the sake of pulling 3, not just 2, because it doesn't seem complete to only have a 2-card reading. I'm gonna grab one more Teeny Tarot. Let's see. Eesh. It's a good thing I shaved my armpits. Okay, I think I went too high. Ask me questions. Ask. You know, sometimes I'll compare different readers' interpretations of these cards, and not everybody's the same. There's like a bit that overlaps, but now I'm trying to do a new thing where, okay, hold on, where they are supposed to be one story. So let's think. All right, what I mentioned before, someone who knows they have a lot to learn. Go, yes, of course, Raya. Of course, yeah. And drink water. Yes. Thank you, Raya. You have a great rest of your night, and I appreciate you. Just in case, I give you a shout out. Everyone go see Raya. Also a reader. Also a streamer. Does all kinds of spiritual work as well. Okay, so BD Tarot suggests that we read these as a singular story, that each one moves into the next, okay? Some answers you can't get. Oh, okay. Beyond Tarot, I see. If you would like also to just speak of things, feel free. Did you just start streaming? Is streaming new for you? So, we are aware, we are uncomfortable with the idea, but we know what needs to be done as far as this journey ahead of us. But what we can see on the horizon and not necessarily see. You gotta meet more tarot people. It's Anna. There are actually lots, but people are kind of uncomfortable because of the stigma that comes with it, I'll be honest. Well, oh, okay. I see. 6 days straight. I see. You haven't streamed yourself. Do you want to? It's Anna, how come you want to meet more tarot folk? Have you gotten into them yourself? It's quite fun. Especially when you know, if you're Asian, you're really going to make time to study it like you're going to college. So what I believe this person here, could be me, it could be anybody, sees on the horizon, is becoming an expert in their craft. And by the time they take that first step into the wilderness, they don't know exactly where they'll be, but they know that whatever happens, they will be really great at this profession. But they lack that that feeling, that inspiration, that's the Ace of Swords, of having a real plan to go. It's true. It's a pleasant surprise to people being open about the practice. I know. And I know that it's because folks have feelings when it comes to their religious beliefs, and that is up to everybody to figure out on their own, not for me to say. What I will say is that I struggled on my own with feeling like I was disappointing God. So I wanted to be sure that the tarot wasn't just for something selfish, and everybody is different. Okay, so I don't charge any money for them or anything. This is for me. And that everything that I read from them is for 100% the care of the person that I'm reading for. You own a few decks, I see your shortcomings. Not being able to read a reading that's meant for you. Interesting. It's that sense of trust, like here too. So whomever this is for, could be for me, who knows, is that we have to let go, but to know here at the center where we are going to be an expert at our craft, even if we don't have the inspiration, or to know that we have plans put in place, because the Ace of Swords represents inspiration when it comes to what to do next. So it's not quite passionate, it's planning. There's plans that are in place. A breakthrough, right? We're mindful, and we're sharp. I know that I will do this because I'll do A, B, and C. Whereas somebody who is a cups person, and that's a more emotional person, so I just believe that it'll work out. Does psychic ability exist? You know, Scripture does talk of folks who have prophetic abilities, ones that were of God and ones that weren't. It does exist, yes. As far as how we attain it, there is a show, I forget exactly the name, okay, but it's a competition between different psychics. What they have to do is uncover murders, or talk about what happened at a crime scene, what is under this cup, things like that. They're all competing against each other. There were two women that stood out to me. One made sure that she called on the highest of powers, God. And then there was another woman. They were both very accurate in what it was that they did. But there was another who called on some other thing. The former that I mentioned was quite uncomfortable in the presence of this other woman because she was a very angry person. She had a lot of envy, a lot of malice. She was difficult to be around. She said it was because the power that she called on was a very dark one. So what I encourage everybody to do is to make sure that whatever power you choose to surrender to, just like in the craft, that it's of the highest good. Okay, and for me, that's the Holy Spirit in the form that Jesus Christ provided after his resurrection. On an instant impulse. So you're talking more of intuition. So that's something that we all have, because we're also like animals. We were first animals before we had consciousness, before we understood that I am. Yeah, so when you perhaps chose to look at your phone because maybe you were thinking of your mom or your sister and suddenly they call, that's your intuition kicking in. Kind of. Instinct is more when, let's say, you are about to run into somebody and you move. That's instinct. You didn't tell yourself to do that. Your body knew to do that. But as far as having a feeling, a gut feeling, like my sister is about to call, that has nothing to do with your survival. So that's intuition. A very beautiful thing. If you choose to tap into it more, that is something that is very much God-given. That's what makes us very spiritual beings. Try. There is a book. Let me see. Highly recommend this because this person is very grounded, a psychic that is quite respectful of higher power, understands that we cannot do this alone. His name is Paul Fenton Smith. I actually left this book on accident at my family's house. but mentions anytime we do any kind of spiritual work to make sure that we clothe ourselves in a spiritual protection. So in my case, I pray. I pray that whatever it is that I do is for the greatest good of the folks that I encounter. And if I say anything that's harmful, that I can learn from it and not do it again. So I do apologize ahead of time for whatever it is that I could do that may lead people in a direction that's not best for them. But it is my intention to make sure that everyone has the best experience possible. But so, I highly recommend this book, and this helps us hone in on what is already natural to us. Is that something, Orchid Twilight, that you are trying to tap into? Have you been studying yourself? Don't mind me while I put these away. What a mess. You witness a man walk up. Scratch off the lottery ticket machine. On several different occasions. Okay. Did he win? Alright. Okay. So what you're saying is, are you about to say that you can help us win the lottery? People have that question too. So I actually, I'll debate with folks from time to time who don't actually believe in psychic ability or these sorts of things. And I had a friend ask me why I don't call on ancestors. And I said because, especially from this book and other references, but Paul Fenton Smith tries to remind us that in the spirit world we do move on. So we continue to grow. Our spiritual journeys don't end at death. And there can be times where a spirit that's speaking to you is not who they say they are. So I mentioned to my friend, spirits can lie, and I'm a little uncomfortable if I don't know for certain. I've had another friend who explained to me their experiences with a spirit that at first the vibes were good and then were not. So I do feel it's so important, if you do choose to dive into this type of thing, that you have to remember this is a very spiritual work. It's like the ocean, and we need a cage. Pointed to a ticket, said to play it. $100, nice. Wow. So you're saying that's from somebody else then? Interesting. Wow, wow, wow. So what did you make of that? How do you feel about that? That's fun. And fun that he's not taking advantage. I like that a lot. Let me see. I'm gonna take a moment because it is getting a little loud. Speaking of other tarot readers, it scares you? Well, was he a good-looking person? Was he a nice person? These are all very important questions. Now, so I do, it is time for me to call it a night. And yeah, when someone is able to pick up on stuff that's not natural for others, it is kind of creepy. But I would like to raid a good friend of mine. His name is Lupaka. I have not yet met him, but hopefully I'll be able to next year. He is also a tarot reader, very funny, very nice. Very nice person, has repercussions. But as long as it's interesting that he didn't accept any of the winnings. Did he seem kind of out of it when he was telling you what to grab? It's so interesting. So for those of you who are still here, no pressure to stick around for the raid, but I am going to raid a friend called Lupaka. Right now they are in a virtual cottage. I don't know if that's a game. I'm not sure exactly. Oh my gosh, and they just got raided by June. Perfect. Perfect timing. So I appreciate all of you though. And Orchid Twilight, I hope to continue this conversation. You can message me anytime about this. Mitashi Mishu. You don't say too much. Ah, okay. Alright. Alright, no worries, let me know. But yeah, so those of you who say hi to our Luke Baka and Orchid Twilight, thank you for sharing. You message me anytime about these things. So we're in, okay, cool.